everyone. This is a little visit with the city councilors that we're working on, and today at this time we're meeting with Councilor Brad Winter. Councilor Winter represents Council District 4, and Councilor Winter, we'd like to know just a little bit about you personally. Tell us, where are you from?
Well, I am from Albuquerque. I was born and raised here. In fact, I grew up on in the Southeast Heights off of Girard and San Rafael. Been here all my life. Did go away to school for a while and worked down south in New Mexico for a while, but have been in Albuquerque the majority of my life.
How exciting. It's nice to have a native here.
Absolutely.
Helping with the city. And I know you have a rather large family. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I do. Nan and I, in fact, total together we have 7 children.
That is rather large.
So it is. Lots of kids, and we still have one that is 13. The youngest is 13 now, so it keeps me young still, although I'm getting older.
And I noticed that you didn't have this much gray hair when I first started. Was that before she became a teenager, obviously?
You know, I can remember my very first city council picture taken in 1999. I had jet black hair. And so, you know, we have our picture taken every 2 years. I've been a city councilor for 14 years. So every 2 years, you can see my hair getting whiter and whiter and whiter.
I understand that
very
perfectly,
sad.
although I prefer to call it natural highlights. But I get it, Councilor.
Yes.
And what is your real occupation? We all understand that this is more of a public service, volunteer type work. What is your real occupation?
It is, and I do have another absolutely full-time job, and I consider city council a full-time job.
That it is, Councilor.
And so I am the Chief Operations Officer for Albuquerque Public Schools, and I've been with Albuquerque Public Schools probably 23 or 24 years. Started as an assistant principal. I was a teacher, assistant principal, and then have worked my way up. But I do have some news that I will be retiring from Albuquerque Public Schools at the end of May.
Oh my goodness,
May
is
30th.
this breaking news that we have right
It is
here
breaking
for everyone?
news, in
Ladies
fact.
and gentlemen, this is breaking news right here on the station. Well, that's exciting, Councilor Winter, and you have different plans for what you're going to do in your spare time now?
Yes, and I'm really, I love working for Albuquerque Public Schools, and I love the school district. But I'm really looking at some different opportunities now, and I'm looking for a little more, maybe less stress in my life, and so it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great, that is exciting. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's really important. So let's talk a little bit about what you do as a city councilor. We know you represent District 4. Can you give us just some general boundaries?
I sure can. It's considered the far Northeast Heights, and through the 14 years I've been a city councilor, we have had some different boundary changes, but it goes on the south to Montgomery. It goes on the north to the reservation area, and to Eubank East, and to the west. Now, which is a change for me, I used to stop at the interstate, but now I go to 2nd Street. So the Bloom Fiesta Park and those neighborhoods are my neighborhoods now, and so it's been very exciting. So it's been a little different, and it's really kind of interesting because, as I tell them when I meet with them, is they didn't vote for me because it was done during my current term,
right.
so they didn't pick me and I didn't pick them. It was just kind of picked. So, but absolutely wonderful neighborhoods, and we've got a lot of great projects going on down there, some new parks, and really work close with the neighborhoods around Bloom Fiesta Park and how that impacts them. So it's been a lot of fun for me.
That's excellent. I think we were all hit with a little different, a little change in
Right.
our districts.
In fact, you got
I
a
got
portion
part
of
of your
mine, a little bit
district.
of my district,
That's
yes,
correct.
when they redistrict.
And along those lines, I think we shared a little median work that we got to use 2 districts' money on it instead of just one.
Yeah, we did. So it was a shared project
It was.
for us.
And I think that's important for people to know here, that we, as counselors, we try to work together as much as we can.
Yes, we do.
It's
We
an
sure
extremely
do.
important thing. So tell me, I know you said you've been on the council for
14 years, starting my 15th
You're
year
starting
in
your
from
15th year.
December.
Wow. Why did you decide that you wanted to run for office?
Yeah, and it's very interesting because I can remember running, and I was an assistant principal at the time, and I thought, you know, that we need regular people to be elected officials. You know, we had some. I'm not saying anything bad about attorneys, but you know, you had consultants, you had attorneys, and you know, I thought, I'm pretty normal every day, and so I thought, you know, I'd never run for politics before in my life. So I thought, why not? I'll just go ahead and try. And it was quite a learning experience. In fact, running a campaign, which I think everybody should at least run one campaign because it's such an experience and a big learning curve. In fact, I'd worked at La Cueva High School as an assistant principal, and my district included La Cueva High School. And so I can remember what we have to do. We have to get certain signatures. And it was very interesting because I said, okay, so I went and started getting all these signatures. I come back, and 3/4 of them weren't any good because they were either not registered or they registered in a different place. And so what we do, when I learned after the fact, you use kind of a walk list that show who's registered and not. So that was my first big learning curve. So I had to go back out and get signatures. But it was a very interesting, I was a very long shot to win, and didn't think I had any kind of chance. And I'll never forget, I remember this experience, I never forget the night of the election. First, the media came to me and said, well, where's your party going to be? And I said, party? Do you have a party? So I said, oh, I'm just going to be home by myself, because if I lose, I don't want to be in the limelight.
Right.
And so I can remember, and that time it was on Channel 16, so I was watching the election, and the first precincts that came in, I was winning, and I thought, well, there are probably precincts around La Cueva where people know me. And you know what? It was like, I won. I don't even know how many votes, but it was like, what a shock. I won. And then I had just purchased a new house, and so I had boxes everywhere, and all of a sudden all the media showed up. I had 3 media trucks because it was kind of a slow election, and I guess this was the big surprise. So they all came in, and I think the first thing I said, well, I'm sorry, I don't have any food to give you, because I was eating microwave dinner at the time. So it was very exciting, and I can remember the first meetings. I had no clue what was going on. It was unbelievable. But after 14 years, I think I know more than I wish I did know, but it's been quite a learning experience in the 14 years.
I think you're right, Councilor, and I know some of us who are newer on this thing than you are, obviously. We do look to you for advice, especially procedures and how we do things. You have it all perfected now, and most of us are still learning. But thank you for your guidance. You're a great mentor on the council.
You know, thanks for that. I look at all the pictures of all the different counselors that I've worked with, and I was going to add them all up to see the different counselors. I haven't done that yet, but I plan on doing that, because there's been quite a few that I've worked with on that council.
This will be fun in your retirement to sit and look at old pictures, won't it?
Yes, it will.
Have you kept all of your portraits, your pictures of all the councils you've sat on?
Yes, I have. In fact, they're in my office right now, from the very first one to the very last one that we just did, in fact.
That's interesting. So how scary was it? I mean, obviously, when you win something that you've worked very hard to do, it's a real rush. How long did it take you before you got that sickening feeling in your stomach that said, now what am I going to do?
You know, I can't even remember the date, but I can remember the first meeting. In fact, it was President Brasher. Michael Brasher was the president. Oh. It was quite a learning experience, but I have really enjoyed it, and it still goes back. The reason I became a counselor is still the reason I like being a counselor, is for the fact of how you can help your constituents in your district get through the red tape of city government. To me, that's still the most fulfilling part of the job.
That's excellent. And do you have some goals, some things that you would like to do that you've set your sight on for the next few years? You know,
I'll tell you some of the legislation we're working on now, but let me tell you some of the past legislation that one of the first things I did when we started with the La Cueva sector plan, and if you remember up on Paseo del Norte in that Wyoming area, it was pretty much unbuilt.
Exactly.
And so we worked, and I didn't start the La Cueva sector plan, but I really worked hard on it. And if you go up in that area now, I think it's just an absolutely fabulous area. All the stores, the way it was planned, I love it. You know, we have a Lowe's right there, Paseo del Norte, Alameda, easy access to the interstate. We're working on Paseo del Norte. It's going to be fabulous. So that was something that I'm very proud of, just because after 14 years you can see what that work has done for the community. And it's just a wonderful area of town, very well the way it was designed, and just very proud of that. You know, in light of what's happened with the Albuquerque Police Department too, one of the things that I'm working on that I really hope works out is this revamp of the Police Oversight Commission. I think some of those issues have come up, And so that's something I'm working on. But I try to think back of how many legislations, bills that I've done, and there's been a whole lot of stuff. One thing I'm very proud of, and this isn't in my district, but you know, one thing is I'm a fly fisherman. I love to fly fish, and I think Tingley Beach, we have that catch and release pond, and we have a couple other ponds. It is a fabulous place. I mean, for fishermen, especially for hikers, for walkers, it's like an urban fishery. You can leave work and you go. And so one thing we're doing is Bob Girding was a great sportsman, a great fisherman. In fact, he was on the task force that helped develop that pond. He passed away, and so we're renaming the catch and release pond the Bob Girding Catch and Release Pond. And I'm kind of excited about that because he was one of the guys, the people in Albuquerque that really helped with things like that. And I think we really need to honor people that really have insight into what happens in Albuquerque.
And thank you for that. I know you've led the charge on it, and I believe that most of the other counselors, I know I have received phone calls and emails from people supporting that, and thank you for leading that charge.
Yeah, so that's a wonderful part, and we have Albuquerque is a great place to live. I mean, it's just fabulous.
It is, and along those lines, obviously, you're making it very clear that as counselors, we do as much as we can for the district that we represent, but in reality, we look at the entire city. Do you have any kind of a vision for the city that you would like to help achieve?
You know, I do. I've lived here all my life, and we've really issues, as you know, we've dealt with a lot of zoning issues and planning issues and comp plans, and I think that we're really looking to revise that and to be part of that, so that our vision of the future. I met with some business leaders, and it was a very interesting concept. You know, we've been working on downtown revitalization. This is always very important in any kind of city to have a vibrant downtown.
Right.
And what we're doing now is we're really remodeling the convention center and trying to really make this whole, because what I've never understood is Albuquerque, it's centrally located. It is a great place to visit. Downtown is a mile and a half from the airport. We have hotels downtown. And why we haven't been able to really bring in more conventions and visitors into this section. And so, you know, one thing I'm very proud of that we did is I've also a track and field guy. I was a pole vaulter, and we have brought in, I think 8-9 years ago, we purchased an indoor track and put it in our convention center, and now we've had the USA National meet, we've had the USA Division I meet, all these huge meets in the city that bring in hundreds of people that just love coming to Albuquerque. And so by helping with that convention center, I see more visitors, and you know, that brings in grocery receipts and everything. Downtown is very interesting because we've worked on it for 14 years. It has never really taken off, but I kind of see things changing now in that respect. I know that we have that they're looking at a new transit, the BRT system down here, and I met with a gentleman that talked about the new generation, millennials. I think that they call this young generation, and that they have a different concept than myself, who's a lot older than they are, which is very unique. And I think that we need to kind of change the way we look at the world, so that these young people, that we create an environment that they, like our kids, want to stay in. And so we need to look at the different way that we plan and what we have. So I'm kind of excited about that part.
I think that's very interesting. We do have an opportunity here, don't we?
Yes, we do.
So is there any one thing that you think that we as the council can do to help lead the city in a strong direction in the near future?
Yeah, you know, working with 8 different counselors, so we have now, and we're from all different backgrounds and our beliefs. But I'm kind of excited because I think that the council, we're at a point that we really need, that we're looking to the future on a lot of issues. I know we're dealing with some things with Albuquerque Police Department. We're really starting to deal with some economic development, some growth issues, because we don't seem to be recovering as we are from the surrounding states are. You know, home sales still are not very high. So we seem slower. And so I think what I'm seeing on the council is we're the ones that really set the policy and set the ideas. And I think that I'm seeing a lot of that. I see a lot of more, at least in my district, too, infrastructure work that is very much needed. Paseo del Norte has been needed for years and years, and finally the council stepped up to the plate. We got 50 million and got to really start that process, which is going to make our transportation issues as far as the west side and even in my district easier to get to the interstate. And so I really like the direction of what this council is doing. We're all very diverse and we have different backgrounds and different ideas, but I think it's a really exciting time for the city because we're starting to see this transition out of this depressed economy, and we can really have a say in how we move that economy forward. And I met with Gary Tonjes this morning with AD, and we really talked a lot about the economic development issues we have as far as how it's affected by education, you know, about our police department, everything, how can we make it stronger and how can we attract these companies?
That's excellent. And obviously it would be hard for me to not agree with that. As we start to wrap this up, Councilor Winter, is there anything you would like your constituents to know about you or about some of the things you might plan on doing in the future that are important to you?
One thing that I know that I think District 4, we have a coalition of neighborhoods up there in District 4, which I believe is one of the strongest in the whole city. They're very active. They're very involved. We have one that's on the Police Oversight Commission, the EPC. So it's a great group, and I feel very fortunate to be able to, I look at it different, I guess, is to be able to help them achieve what we need to do, not only in the district, in the city. And so some of the big things in the district is, we're all excited about Paseo del Norte because it does affect our district. Alameda is another thing that we've really worked on to really widen Alameda and make that more accessible. That's happened. One of the things that I'm very, very proud of is our multi-generational center, the North Domingo Baca.
Well, you should be. It's beautiful.
I have worked on that for probably starting 14 years when I first started, and there was a lot of politics in the very beginning being played. But if folks go over there, I mean, it is a great, for everybody in the whole city. The whole area is fabulous, and we're looking at doing another phase to get the gymnasium in, and then we're trying to move up the phase to bring a pool in there.
Oh, excellent.
And absolutely, we don't have any place in the northeast side for a pool. This is the only community center we have up there, and so I think our community is very, very excited about do that. So looking in the future, it's how we're going to keep funding those other phases until it's complete. And as you know, when you look at our bond program, we don't have a whole lot of money in our bond program. I think it's somewhere in 100 million, 116, but very low. And when you have all these things that you want, and you have counselors that want new parks in their district, so that's a problem that we have, and I don't know how to fix that. We've taken a lot of our money from the capital and put them in the gross receipts to run government. And we're trying to change that back a little bit, but the effect is showing right now. So we still have to maintain our roads. We have to maintain our sewers. Folks want parks. We want to maintain those parks. We want community centers. We want libraries, fire stations. Oh, yeah. And so that's the thing that we are really going to have to look at to see how we can improve. Big government isn't necessarily the answer, but we need that capital money to help with these projects.
Thank you, Councilor. You have some really great ideas, and I must say that it's been a pleasure and an honor to serve with you. And if there's anything else you'd like to say, or if you'd just like to say to your constituents, how do they contact you if they'd like to speak with you?
They can call me. They can use my cell phone, 489-0327, and I get calls day and night, and I don't mind it. Jessica, they can call Jessica, who's my wonderful policy analyst, and our city number is 768-3101. And so please, as far as my constituents, or anybody in the city that wants to contact, please do, because we're here to help everybody.
Thank you, Councilor Winter, and I personally want to thank you for all the years and all the good service you have given to this city. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you,
Thank
Councilor.
You.